Hey, young bucks, old goats. 133. How's everybody doing out there?
What's going on?
How you doing, Tank?
Good, bro. Good. Another Friday.
Another Friday in South Florida. Dude, we joke around a lot on the show. Always real quick. Let's do a quick moment of silence for all the victims in the Texas shooting tragedy. Um, you know, just terrible, terrible. So let's do a real quick moment of silence for that. All right, and do you know what's up with the Heat? By the way, before we get into it, we have a guest with us tonight that we're going to bring on.
Nah, I wasn't. They're up 48-46.
Oh man, it's a tight game. Are they near the half right now?
They're at the half, yeah.
Okay, we'll check in on that as we go. All right. Tonight we have a guest. Blake Wright is going to be joining us, and I'm going to bring him on. And he's working on Toy Collector magazine, and he's written some books, and we're gonna talk to him tonight. Blake, how you doing?
Hey man, great. How you guys?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for hanging out with us a little while tonight. And by the way, what part of the country are you in?
I'm actually in Texas. I'm
You're
in Houston.
Texas. Okay. Wow. I can't imagine how the vibe is there right now.
It's not good.
Yeah. Terrible. All right. Let's talk about something a little bit more fun. Before we get into the magazine that you're doing, can you tell me a little bit about your background? I know you wrote some books, and they focused on unreleased toys, right?
Yeah. So I've been a journalist for almost 30 years here in Texas, covering mainly the energy business. Go figure. But I've always been a toy fan, collected toys in my teens and into college. About 7 years ago, I started down a path where I started compiling information about unproduced toys. So that's toys that made it through a certain part of the pre-production phase internally, but for whatever reason never made it into toy stores. So at first I thought I was going to do something on the internet with it, and then the more I dug, the more stories that started to emerge. It really deserved to be something more than just a internet pay, a website or a PDF or whatever. So we decided to do a book, and I went to Kickstarter for the first one. It's called Toys That Time Forgot, Volume 1. We funded, we printed, we got them delivered. Everybody was happy. First question I got, when's Volume 2? So we did a second one, and then we did a third one. The third one is actually being printed in China right now. It's been severely delayed by paper shortages and COVID and everything else, but we are finally on the press, and hopefully that'll be stateside sometime in summer.
And where can people get this?
Right now, everything's sold out. So Volume 3 is coming. I'll have extra copies of that when it lands. Volume 1 and Volume 2 are being reprinted as well. So we're getting all three of them back in stock. The easiest way to get it is to go to Big Bad Toy Store. They're the exclusive dealer for the books. You can pre-order all three of them there, and they're going to get theirs as soon as we finish with the Kickstarter backers.
Cool. And I do have some of your links in the description of the video if people want to go ahead and follow you on any of the social media and check out your website too.
Cool.
Do you mind me asking how old you are, just so I know? I was born in late 70s, so just to kind of know what kind of stuff you grew up with, that might help.
I was born in 1969. I'm 53.
Okay, so I'm a little bit. So you're probably heavy duty, more 70s stuff. That was
I was
Star
8
Wars.
years old when Star Wars came out, so it was just like perfect.
Exactly. Yeah,
I was vivid memories of seeing it in the theater and everything.
Yeah, I'm like a G.I. Joe era guy. That's like
go.
my. Oh, by the way, cheers, everybody. Here's to toys and having fun with them. So, are you a collector of those unreleased toys, the prototypes of them, or
That's
just?
that's a rich man's game. You gotta have
Is it?
It
really,
is.
really deep pockets. That said, I do have a few pieces that I picked up along the way. Not very many, but just some that I really had an affinity for. And there were some that I wish, I should have picked that up when I had the chance and that sort of thing. But I basically decided fairly early on that instead of collecting the actual toys, I would just collect the stories. So, and those went in the
100%.
book. So,
that prototype collecting game and that it's just I also just found it a lot of times I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, what your experience has been with this. Maybe tough to authenticate some stuff unless you're like talking to like an employee that worked in the development and had even then maybe you don't really know.
yeah, I mean, there's been situations where even people who were former toy, toy company employees, gone back and reproduced prototypes. So there's been situations like that. Fortunately, sometimes you can actually uh, get a pretty good feel just by the material that the prototype is made out of, as far as dating it back to its, if it was an original 90s, 80s piece or what have you.
Sort of
But
like some carbon dating or something,
yeah, in a weird
like
way.
yeah,
Yeah,
toy
but
style.
you're not cutting it open to look at to count the rings or anything. But it's certain companies use certain compounds back in the day, and
You got to do like
they
some
don't really,
forensic work.
yeah, they don't really do that. I mean, they don't really even sculpt, by hand anymore. It's all done digitally. There's a few old school guys still around, but for the most part, it's all done on the computer now.
Yeah.
Blake, these toys that you talk about, is it like unreleased toys that I wouldn't know what you're talking about, or like an unreleased Barbie or an unreleased GI Joe?
So both. So some of them are lines that completely died before they ever saw the light of day. So you would maybe not know about that. Others are uh, like a second wave or a second year of toys that were prototyped ahead of time, but say the first year didn't perform well enough, so they just
All right.
scrapped the whole thing before they went to tooling. So both of those situations are illustrated extensively through the three books.
Can you give us a couple examples of each? Maybe a couple lines that maybe a couple of your favorites that never got made, and maybe a couple figures from well-known lines or waves from well-known lines that we don't know, didn't get
Yeah,
made.
sure. So my favorite discovery of all of the unproduced stuff that I was able to uncover was the fact that back in the early '80s, Knickerbocker had the license for and did sculpt figures for the movie Krull, which is an '83 sci-fi movie, best known for its weapon, the glaive, which was just like a giant throwing star with knives on the end of it. If you've never seen the movie, it's very cheesy, but still pretty in the best ways. So
That was
they
of
had
the times, right? There was a lot of movies like that during
right.
that era.
So it's like a sci-fi fantasy hybrid, and they sculpted like 10 figures for it.
Who
And
did?
I would
You
say
know who?
Knickerbocker.
Okay,
So the
sorry,
same
you
people that
mentioned
did
that.
like the Lord of the Rings animated stuff in the late '70s.
Gotcha.
Um,
When did
and
they go out of business?
yeah, Hasbro bought them in
Okay.
the mid '80s, like '84 ish.
Okay.
So those toys, I was able to uncover. I actually held one of the hard copies in my hand, which was kind of neat, and had imagery of a few other ones, and was able to talk to the actual sculptor that did some of the work on them, and got those out there. So that was neat. For like a second wave of stuff that didn't come out. So like in the mid '90s, Playmates toys had a lot of one and done properties, Skeleton Warriors, Earthworm Jim, all the stuff that they did for Disney, DuckTales, Tailspin.
Did they do Dick Tracy too, or is that
They
something?
did Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff had second series ready to go, but because the properties didn't perform or the cartoon was canceled or whatever media they were pushing, didn't quite pan out. Well, a lot of that stuff never saw the store shelves, but they did extensive work on it. So like Skeleton Warriors Wave 2 was a lot different from year one. The skeletons were going to have a lot more color to them instead of being just the bone color that they were in the first year stuff. Earthworm Jim had new characters, Hamsternator and Chuck and Fifi, and a few more incarnations of Jim, which I don't know if you can see, but those drawings behind me, those are
Yes.
actually 2 unreleased Earthworm Jim figures.
Oh wow.
One's Extendo Arm Jim and one's Copter Head Jim.
So those are like the schematics.
That's the original. Yeah, that's the
artwork.
original sepia, pencil on sepia line drawings for the figures. Artwork is a lot cheaper to collect than the actual prototypes. Sometimes I pick up 2D stuff too.
That's cool. How about Fred Gomez's question here? I mean, I would assume the property is popular. More people are going to want it, but there's so that the whole world is an oddity in itself. Collecting these, that maybe within that world, the odder the thing is, the more who knows. Do you know how to answer that question he has?
Yeah, it's I've always been of the mind that just because something's rare doesn't mean it's expensive. Doesn't mean it's worth a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, with toys, that at least that's the trend, is that people, the rarer it is, it has to be more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to prototypes, you can pick up some hard copies or some test samples of some lines very, very cheap still. It's just like $200-300 would probably still pick you up a Mummies Alive figure or something like that. But if you're going to aim for stuff that was rare anyway, yeah, you're gonna be paying a lot, or popular. I mean, the Star Wars stuff is just anything from the original Kenner line is through the roof now. Back right when Power of the Force 2 was launching in 95, 96, we had some friends who we had like a little collector group here in Houston, and one of the guys brought in his rocket firing Boba Fett prototype that he had just bought.
Wow.
For $5,000.
Oh my God.
I think the last one just went for what, $200,000, something stupid like that.
Yeah, that's one of the most expensive Star Wars figures. For those that don't know,
and we all called him an idiot, for paying $5,000 for it back then. Like, what are you doing? $5,000.
I wonder if he still has it.
I have no idea. No idea. We lost touch.
Some guy paid not recently. This is a few years ago on a reality show. I'm sure you've heard of this. Can't remember the guy's TV show. He had a store too, and he had a TV show where they would go around looking for vintage stuff. I can't remember the
Vickers or something.
Yeah, but it was toy related, and I think in one of the episodes he
the Toy Hunter, Jordan Hembro.
I think that's it. And I think on one of his shows, some guy that was involved in MMA somehow ended up buying one for like, I don't remember the amount. Maybe you could look it up, Tank, how much he bought a rocket firing Boba Fett prototype. Anyways, what are like some not necessarily prototype, but just some of your favorite lines, toy lines, properties, brands?
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars is big with me just because I grew up with those movies pretty much. Right now, collection wise, as far as new stuff, I like what NECA's doing with the Gargoyles line. I think those are really well done, kind of updated, but yet still very recognizable to the original characters.
Mm-hmm.
I also collect Weta, the company in New Zealand. They do these mini epics. These are the stylized figures. The Lord of the Rings ones that they've done. I've got most of those because I think they're really, really nicely done.
Yeah,
and
they
then
do great stuff.
yeah, and then
Even the little houses in the Lord of the Ring
right,
houses and stuff, very detailed stuff.
yeah. I picked up a few of the Dark Crystal things that they've done, as well as when Funko put out the figures for both the old movie and the new Netflix series. I picked those up. I was always a big Dark Crystal fan as well. So yeah, it's a few things that I have kicking around.
Did you grow up in Texas? I missed this question. You told me you're from there or you're there now, but you grew up there too as a kid?
Yeah, born and raised in Houston.
And what was like down here we had Toys R Us, we had a Lino Play World. In the malls you had KB, and then you could get stuff off Sears. There was a couple other places you can get stuff. Was it a pretty well rounded place to find stuff to buy as a kid?
Yeah, because we had Lino Play World and Toys R Us too. I remember getting Star Wars figures from TG&Y. We had here a couple of other department stores. There was one called Globe.
Yeah, that might have been more regional. I don't think we had those last two.
And then Best Products.
We had a Best, which was like blue on the outside. I don't know if that was
Best
the same.
was always known for its strange architecture. We had the incredible peeling wall one where the bricks looked like they were curling up on one side.
Apparently, the owner of that company was very into like art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
From what I read one time.
And then later on, we service merchandise.
We had that too. Yeah, we had that too.
Which was a Wilson. It was called Wilson's before they brought in service merchandise. So yeah, it was basically that same sort of stores. There occasionally, there was some regional stuff popped up. I don't know how prevalent TG&Y was through the country, but we had a handful of them here.
We had another one called I think it was not Thomas Jefferson, something Jefferson. I can't remember, but it's funny. All these things, like none of them exist anymore, really, almost, right? They're like all gone. It's just so crazy. So you told me one interesting discovery you made with Crawl. Any other sort of things that like blew your mind away when you were like researching the prototype stuff? We're gonna get to the magazine in a few minutes, but I want to cover some.
Let me think. I mean, there's some stuff I still haven't revealed what's in volume 3 because it's still coming.
Sure, yeah. Let's keep that a secret.
So there's some stuff in there that's like, holy crap! What, really? They were gonna do that? That's interesting as hell. But they did. There was a Mattel line that was in the first book called Fleas, and basically it was a line of like 1.5 inch tall characters that were all sculpted like fleas, but they were famous fleas, and their names were punned to be fleas. So you had, for example, there was even Masters of the Universe ones. So they had Flea Man, Skeleflea, and
which,
Flea
let's be honest, man, Masters of the Universe and Mattel, they didn't work too hard on the names, right? Of the guys.
No, they didn't.
Like it was like, what is this guy gonna do? He's a bee guy? Okay, Buzz off,
right.
Or
He-Man, She-Ra.
Yeah. And they did
3 eyes,
Skeletor.
Yeah.
They also had like historic war veterans. There was Robert E. Flea. I mean, there was a whole line of fleas. And the idea was, so you buy like a bag of these things, and the play set was this big plush dog.
Oh my god!
That I think his name was Norman. He was the world's laziest dog, so he was always asleep. So when he was asleep, the fleas would come alive and live their adventures. And they had like building sets that had like combs on them, so that you could dig the combs into the dog, and it would hold like the little fort or whatever. And so the fleas could run up the stairs and play all this. It was a strange line.
Yeah, this could be like the greatest thing they never made, or maybe they did the right call by not. I'm not sure.
Right. It was
I'm
like,
intrigued by it though.
the thing that struck me was it was a figure line, it was a plush line, and it was a building line. It was a construction line. It had
There's a
all
lot of stuff.
three elements.
Were the little were the little fleas articulated at all?
A little bit. The arms could move.
Okay.
I didn't know if the legs could, but the arms could move, and they had like Lego hands to where you could clip weapons into them and stuff.
What up, Mastodon?
What's up?
And so he pitched the guy whose idea it was inside Mattel pitched it to the brass. The brass ate it up and said, "Yeah, let's do it." So they took it into the very first marketing meeting for it, and they were like, "Okay, we got this new line. He's trying to get everybody excited, and we got to figure out how to market this thing, and blah blah blah. Anybody got any ideas?" And so they're going back and forth for a little bit. And some guy in the back of the room just kind of, raises his hand. He said, "Yeah, what's up?" He goes, "Am I the only person here not getting this at all?" He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, when we do an action figure line, the usual idea is that these things are aspirational, that kids want to transform to become this thing. Do you know a kid on the planet that wants to be a flea? He's like, "Well, no, I don't think that's going to be a problem." And he's like, and here's something else. Can you think? Who buys these toys for these kids mainly? Well, they're moms. Mm-hmm. So can you think of a creature more dreaded and hated by mothers across the country than fleas? And so they're going back and forth, and it ended up they killed the line in that very first meeting.
I think about it now, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds like it's funny. It's creative, but not thinking as a kid, I don't think I would have even batted an eye at that.
Who knows, man? It may have been interesting because they did, garbage kills were big and they were disgusting. They are disgusting. Moms bought a lot of that stuff for kids, so maybe, who knows?
But you gotta also know a lot Robert E. Lee and you gotta know some.
Could have been
they did. There was like Superman flea, the Super Flea, and they had all kinds of different those Cowboys and Indian fleas. There was all kinds of, and like I said, they actually did. They had prototype Masters of the Universe fleas. So
well, I mean, they owned that license. The other ones, since they were changing the names, they probably didn't have. It was a completely license free line. So that I guess that was an appealing part of it. But yeah. All right. What was it called? The
fleas.
The fleas is what it's called. All right.
Yeah, you won't find. I don't think you'll find anything on it on the internet. It's just it was one of those things that was totally internal. None of the externals never made it outside the walls of Mattel until the guy told the story to me. Anyway,
right. I think to answer his question, we kind of talked about it. Probably that Boba Fett is probably the most sought after prototype. Or do you know of something more?
As far as something that I want, I would never want it.
Or dollar wise, that's probably the biggest.
Yeah, ticket. I mean that's probably the holy grail. I mean, there's some other stuff floating around out there. I mean, what you have to understand about prototype collectors is there are prototype collectors, and then there are the big dollar guys, and then there's this Illuminati type level of guys that you'll never know who they are. You'll never see them in public, and they'll never tell you what they have. And it's just, I was able to penetrate the first couple of levels, but I could never get to the Illuminati. They're out there, trust me, because I know for a fact they're out there.
Some Freemason type stuff,
right? Secret handshake and everything.
Yeah. I just saw some guy bought recently a Funko Pop 2-pack golden ticket Willy Wonka. I think they made 10 of them, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he paid like $100,000 for it. Yeesh. That's not even a prototype. That's just like a limited.
Yeah, it's a limited, extremely limited release.
I think it's one of 5, like 5 golden tickets.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that released a few years ago at one of the cons.
Yes, it was a
con. I hope he loves that set because he's probably not going to get that money back.
Fuck no.
That's it's like a really nice sports car. You could have like a really nice high-end sports car or that little Funko Pop 2-pack. I mean, the guy buying that probably already has that
Right.
really nice sports car or a few, but it's just it's
Yeah. I
crazy.
hope he's not living in a cardboard box somewhere with him in that 2-pack.
You never know. That sometimes that could be the case. Freddie has another question here, and I kind of had the same question, and not Transformers so much, but can you share? Maybe you can tell us a Transformer. I wanted to know after that any GI Joe stuff you could share, since that's kind of like my favorite.
Yeah, as far as Transformers, I mean there's a lot of Transformer prototype type collectors out there. For whatever reason, I really never got into Transformers, which is really weird for the time of that they were released and how old I was. But for whatever reason, they just never clicked with me. That said, in the first book, there was again, going back to Knickerbocker Toys of all people, they actually had Transformers before Hasbro. And what I mean by that, yeah. What I mean by they didn't call them that. But what happened was one of their bosses was over in China, who was working either with a factory trying to see where some other line was going. And one of the things they always used to do is go down to the toy district and walk around and just see what was trending, locally there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think actually this was in China. This was Japan. Excuse me. So he went and he went into one of these little stores and he found a little keychain that was a locomotive, just a solid black train locomotive. But you could flip it over and it actually became a robot. So it was like almost like a switchblade action. You just flipped it and it became a robot.
Mm-hmm.
And so he bought it and took it back to the States. And during one of their meetings, he pulled it out and skidded it across the table to one of the art directors there and said, "Look into this. There might be something here." So they actually started to put together a line that they called Mysterians.
I actually just found the article right now on accident, looking it up. I was going to ask you about the Mysterians.
Is it Jim Shooter's blog? Is that where you are?
Or if you want to share it, Tank, I can share it on the screen. We can check it out.
There.
Okay.
So right here is what he was just talking about.
So these are pages from my book.
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool.
So yeah, Knickerbocker had.
Wow, but those were used as Transformers. Those 3 pictures right there.
Remember when I said that Knickerbocker was bought by Hasbro?
Okay.
Back in the early 80s. So 4 of the minis. So you got, the 3 on that page, and then the sports car, which was Speedar. I mean, talk about terrible names. Which ended up being Wind Charger. So they had those 4 minis already prototyped and ready to go, and they also had in that same line a series of geometrical shapes. They were just like spheres and squares, and like, see this yellow one over here.
Mm-hmm.
So these were going to come out as well as part of. This was called the Secret Force. It's really weird that this story is really convoluted, but
yes,
because this toy that you're looking at actually came out in the later 80s by a company called Marchon. And to this day, the Knickerbocker people really don't know, or the people I talk with really don't know how Marchon got a hold of this.
Now, were the Mysterions ever released?
Well, these were, but Knickerbocker's the actual cars, which they called the Mobile Force. If you click on that again, where the card backs are, that So they call that the mobile force. And so that's where those cars are. But if you notice, those are the 4 cars, and it's hard to tell, but Truckar up here, he has that M on the door that everyone always thought stood for Micro Machines or Microman. And and they have them on their hoods. The Jeep has it on its hood. Blazer has it on his hood. But
what are these guys' Transformers names? I'm sorry. Can you tell us the
it ends up being Huffer. The orange one is Huffer.
Yes.
Brawn is the Jeep, the green Jeep.
100%.
And then Gears is the blue and red one.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to refresh.
And Wind Charger is the red one.
Yes.
Is the red sports car. So everyone always thought the M stood for Microman. But if you go back to what ended up being the Mysterian, the Marchand Mysterians, you can see that they use the M2 on the front of as a sticker on the front of the thing.
Okay, not molded onto them. Is this a sticker?
No, I'm pretty sure that's a sticker.
And on the other ones too?
No, on the other ones, they're molded, actually.
Oh, they're molded. So the Transformer releases, if you look at them.
Yeah, so if you go and find a Transformer, one of those Transformers, a Huffer, whatever, they will have that M.
Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna go check them out. I have those little guys somewhere in here. I'm gonna check them out later. That's interesting. So did they ever release them?
No.
Okay.
Not as Mysterians.
Okay.
Because
that was prototype stage.
They got bought out by Hasbro, and Hasbro basically, when you buy a company like that, you get all of their prototypes and everything. You bring them in, and you take them in, and if there's anything you're interested in, well, you can. But by the time they're buying Knickerbocker, they've probably already talked to Takara and are on their way to making their own what becomes Transformers. But then when they see the work Knickerbocker's done on this other thing, they just bring those 4 cars into the mini line, and to flesh it out.
Yeah,
that was a really interesting story, and it's really there's a lot of moving parts to it, and I told it as best I could with the information that I had.
No, I think it's super interesting, man, because I study. Me like you, I was not a big Transformers guy, even though it was of my era. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of money. I had to stick to one thing, and I was like, all right, I need to have enough G.I. Joes to have some sort of battle back here. I can't be messing with He-Man, and I like the cartoons. But I did study a little bit of the Transformers history, and I didn't know this part of it, but I knew that when you look at the original G1, especially the early stuff, you look at the toys and you're like, but this car is so tiny and this car is much bigger. And then, like the scales, and it was just a hodgepodge of these. The Diaclones, right, was another thing that they bought. And then what they got off Takara, and they just kind of launched it with this hodgepodge of things that weren't even, I don't know if anything was original from them.
Yeah, I don't know.
At least the first wave or a few waves.
A lot of stuff with Transformers and G.I. Joe, for that matter, I steered clear of consciously, because there are books about Transformers, there are books about G.I. Joe, so I was just like, let me concentrate on some stuff that doesn't really ever get that kind of attention. Of course, that said, when I came across this Transformers story, I was like, holy crap, someone needs to go ahead and tell this, and so that was the motivation there. As far as Joe is concerned, the only prototypes I came across of unproduced Joe was for the second wave of Extreme from the mid-90s.
Yeah, I was out by then. I have a lull in my collecting, which is like I correlated with getting interested in girls and stuff. Then you start getting. Yeah, and then later, I had less fucks to give as I got older, and then I started collecting again. But there was a law, and then you gave them away at some point. Some kid that didn't even really want them in your family probably got them and destroyed whatever was left. It's always that sad story. Everybody has one like that. But Extreme, I never got into. They tried a bunch of stuff. Was that like 90s era?
Yeah, it was mid-90s.
Okay.
So they had a complete second wave of that was ready to go, and then they never brought it out. And I just happened to, I had dinner one night with a guy who had every bit of it. And so I got to see what they looked like and everything, but I never did anything with it. The one line that I actually wanted to do Joe on, because everyone hated it, but I always thought it was kind of cool because I was never really a Joe guy, was now I'm going to forget the name of the damn subline. The bigger ones, when they did those 8-inch.
Were they like Sigma?
Yeah, Sigma 6. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a lot of unproduced Sigma 6 stuff.
That line, it was not terrible. I agree. As far as like some of the ideas they had and stuff like that, but
yeah, if you don't put GI Joe on that, I bet it does better than it did. But I mean, it was it is what it is. But I liked that sort of animated, angular aesthetic that they used.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Okay. What else do I want to ask you before we get into the
those Sigma 6s came with interchangeable parts.
Yeah, they did a few little interesting things with some of them.
Cool.
Yeah. But I just think sometimes the military stuff started getting, I don't know, like in the 80s when G.I. Joe was big, a lot of people were, rah, and then like sort of like military stuff. Yeah, military stuff and, started, excuse me, maybe because there was some wars in the 90s, maybe it's not really like.
That's why they became adventurers, and eco warriors, and all this stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna go to space now.
Actually got away from being soldiers.
Yeah, which is
really Sigma 6 is actually, like I said, between the bigger they also did like a 2.5-inch scale line that had some really neat vehicles in it.
Can we show any of that, Tank, on the screen?
And they had other plans for that as well. So it was one of those lines that I think was prematurely shut down. But
underrated, underappreciated.
Joe fan wants what he wants. So
yeah, it's a very, I consider it a small very loyal, but it's just it's hard. There's a lot of stuff coming out now, modern stuff, so I'm happy about it. There's a lot more than we've had in recent years, so I'm just anytime anything G.I. Joe comes out, I'm happy that at least it's still relevant and out there, so
yeah. Well, I think they're doing a great job with the classified line. I really like it a lot. They once they get their distribution worked out to where you can actually find some of this stuff, it'll be great.
Yeah, and I like some of the stuff Super 7's doing too. With
some of the cartoon based stuff.
Yeah, because we never really had the little ones are not super articulated. I get it, but I do like that they're in that cartoon style that we really never got, from the original 3 3/4-inch line. Those were cool. Those are my favorites, but these are way more like, they look like the guy off your TV screen back from the 80s. And then they're doing like a 6-inch line too. I don't know if you've seen those, which are
the Ultimates. Cool. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's shift to the magazine for a second. I always read ToyFare, Wizard. I would get this thing. I don't know if you must be familiar. Yeah, there you go. You're familiar with this. This is more like a G.I. Joe thing. I think this was a Master Collector, was mostly G.I. Joe.
No, it's cool.
They had some other stuff, and then now recently I still get these, the G.I. Joe Collector Club stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was always cool, to get those in your hand and read them. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like the inspiration for your magazine, which is out already now?
No, it comes out, the first issue is September.
Okay.
So we're working on the first 2 issues in tandem right now. So I mean, it's one of those things, like when I started the book project, one of the reasons that motivated me to do those is because those were books I wanted and no one else was going to do them. So I needed someone had to step up. So it ended up being me. Well, we lost our last toy magazine in 2014. So it's been 8 years.
Wow.
And I got tired of going to Barnes and Noble and being able to pick up, 5 titles on weed or 3 titles on quilting, or even, toy wise, 3 titles on RC cars, 5 titles on diecast cars, model trains, everything, but no general collector focused toy magazine. And I just didn't understand it. So, I love this just as much as the next guy. I mean, you dealt with ToyFare, you had Lee's, and you had Tomart's. Those were basically the big 3, right?
And they were all at the same time
running, pretty much,
right?
Yeah, through the mid 90s through the early teens, 2010s. So, everyone attributes the death of these magazines to the internet because, instant gratification. You don't have to wait by your mailbox for a new image reveal that's going to happen instantaneously on the web. So my argument going into this was the internet of 10 years ago isn't the same internet we're dealing with now. A lot of folks, rarely go or just, to toy news websites, anymore. They all, and even those guys funnel all their news, and even the companies funnel all their news through social media. So they're beholden to these algorithms that change every 2 weeks. They don't know who's seeing this stuff and who's not. So it seemed like the right thing to do, to go back, take a step back, while nostalgia and retroism is so popular right now, to take a step back and take a look at print again and see if there isn't, something we can do as far as telling compelling stories like the ones I tried to generate for the books, but let's talk about the toys that we all played with as a kid, or the ones that we're actually actively collecting now. So at first I considered a book, actually, and I was like, well, no, because there's a lot to say, and I need a more dynamic environment to do that. So you think website automatically, but then it goes right back to everyone's on social media. So do you start a social media page? The problem with that is, the news is there one day and it's gone the next. It's down the page. You may never see it again. And if you ever wanted the definition of getting yourself pissed off is trying to use a search engine on one of these social media sites. They're awful. So it all came back to magazines. And when I started to get more serious about it, I put together a proof of concept. Basically, it was 20 some odd page. I called it issue 0. And I flew out to California, and I split time for a week between LA and San Francisco, talking with all the toy guys who would talk to me, basically showing them the proof of concept and asking them to, talk me out of doing it. Basically the same formula I used for the books. I said, hey, please talk me out of doing this. But everyone was on board. They were like, you know what? It's time for this to come back. So after that, I started, looking to put together a team of contributors and started pricing out things, and started digging into a few stories I thought were compelling. The goodwill that I was built up through the books, was able to negotiate exclusive news that will appear in the magazine first.
That's cool.
As opposed to being on the internet first.
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got some of those underway. Just last week, we got our approval that Diamond is going to distribute it for us. So
I was just going to mention Diamond to you. So there's a dude, I don't know if he still works there. He was pretty big in ToyFare at one time. He was always, they would put their faces on like some of the characters and do like a little comic with the word bubbles. He had always like the lamb chop.
That's Zach.
Yeah.
There Zach works for Diamond Select Toys, so he's on the toy side.
There you go. Yeah, super nice guy, man.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He actually helped me out quite a bit when it came to this.
I figured he may be, yeah.
So we just got that. So now your comic shop will be able to order the magazine in. We do have direct subscriptions where you can save a little money by subscribing for a full year. But yeah, so we're going full bore. I just spent the last 3 days in Las Vegas at the licensing show.
What was that like? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was interesting. I'd never been to one before, but basically it's licensees and licensors getting together. People who are interested in licensing properties are going around talking to people who own properties to see if we want to make a T-shirt, shoes, toys, you name it. So there's all kinds of. It's an interesting array of booths that are there. So Mattel's there, Hasbro's there, Spin Master, MGA, Jazzwares, and then there's Shell Oil Company, Kathy Ireland. Who else was there? There was a lot of music. Warner Music was there.
I'm having a brain fart. Who's Kathy Ireland?
She's a supermodel.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought first, but I didn't want to talk out of my ass. That's all right.
And she still looks amazing.
It's a licensing con for like everything, not just toys.
Right, everything. Anybody who wants to,
like Nintendo could be there.
Anybody who has a brand that they think some people want to stick on something can go and put a booth there.
So Kathy Ireland's there in case somebody wants to make any merchandise with her name or likeness.
Right. So dresses, fashion, shoes, you name it, so swimwear, whatever.
Not just toys, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, not just toys.
Gotcha.
But toys are a big part of it. I mean, like I said, all the companies I just rattled off were all there. But like Paramount was there, Warner Brothers was there, so the movie studios were there as well.
What were some of the? Can you share maybe like some of the smaller people providing their likeness or license that you were surprised to see there? Like maybe a small show or small, like. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Maybe somebody would. Oh, look, it's. Wouldn't expect to see them here. Kathy Ireland's a good. Yeah. Not that she's small in any.
So like, famous. I mean, instead of, this isn't necessarily small, but it's related to toys. So Topps had like a Garbage Pail Kid booth.
A what kid? I'm sorry.
Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
So you could go and if you want to put a Garbage Pail Kid on a T-shirt or something, you could go talk to them.
Funko's made some stuff.
Funko was there. They had a huge booth.
Yeah, they bought everything probably that was available. They seem to make everything.
They do.
And a lot of that type of stuff that I'm asking about, it seems like to be their forte too. Like they'll license stuff that like nobody really has any other figures of.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not a pop collector yet. I look around my room and I have 30 pops.
Exactly. Nobody's a pop collector, but you have pops because I really like I don't know. I mean, Golden Girls. There's been some other stuff, but like for example, some people that like Golden Girls at one time, oh my God, they'll go and buy a pop. Now there's.
I'm staring at right over here. I've got the band Rush. I'm never going to get Rush action figures, but I got Rush pops.
Right. I think the only thing I've ever seen of Rush besides that is a company called Knucklebones who does like rock style statues.
Yeah,
they may have done Neil Peart, I think, at one time, but yeah,
and I've got the full range of pops from the movie Tombstone because we never had Tombstone action.
That's like my favorite movie of all time, dude.
Yeah, so I've got those over here.
Yeah, and there's like you're not getting too much Tombstone.
A random Hellboy and some other stuff. It's just.
But then they'll really, you want to get, you like the Tombstone, you want to get on, and then they'll release like some uber rare variant, and you're like, oh my God, now I don't have a full set, man. But that line, I think they kept it pretty standard, maybe just a couple of exclusives.
There was I think there was one Target exclusive in that.
Yeah, Doc Holliday, maybe where he's like
the sweaty Doc Holliday.
Yeah, drunk, sick, Doc.
So that was an interesting show. I met with a lot of some toy companies that I was unable to meet with before. And there was interest in what I was doing. In order for this thing to really become something special, I need revenue coming from both advertising and subscriptions. One or the other wouldn't cut it. So I've actually been very surprised and humbled by the number of ads that people have already secured, on a magazine that currently has 0 circulation. So they've, been able to work out deals. And I guess, like I said, because I am kind of a known entity that has, promised and produced and delivered, things in the past, that there's less of a threat of me just, running off into the night with people's money.
Oh yeah, that's happened. Yeah. In this business, that there's been. We don't have to get into that, but there's been companies that's happened.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to share or can share. What can they expect to? Can you give us kind of the menu of what you can expect to get in an issue? How
Sure.
the layout's going to be. What kind of
so we're doing
categories or whatever.
So it's 6 issues a year, so it's bi-monthly. So you'll get one issue every 2 months. It'll be pretty standardized as far as there'll be a news section up front. That'll be followed by industry columns from people either in the business or close to the business, or have done internet toy news most of their lives. We've got a series of features that will be usually it'll be something like visiting with a sculptor you may know, or backstage, behind the curtain at a company to show you, their process, what they look for in a license, how they deal with sculptors, how they deal with China, so it's a lot of kind of inside baseball, under the hood stuff that we really wanted to showcase. At the same time, though, we have to keep our eye on the ball and know that people want us to talk about toys, not just how they're made and everything. So one of the standard features that are recurring features that I'm going to try to pull off is there's a lot of toys that are being done now that have been done before. Like I mentioned gargoyles earlier. Perfect example. So NECA's doing gargoyles right now. Kenner did them back in the mid-90s. So we would do a feature to where we would talk to NECA about what their attraction was to the license, where they are with it, what their plans are. Then we would kind of go back in time and talk to guys that worked on the Kenner line and what their plans were and all this stuff. So you interdisperse that with imagery that maybe you haven't seen before, or talking about the property, because there was a pitch and a script and some effects work and drawings done for a live action Gargoyles movie that was supposed to happen in the late 90s. Some folks have seen that stuff, some folks haven't. So we want to be able to show that kind of stuff as well. So that's one instance, but you can do that with, Turtles and He-Man and, all these different, Earthworm Jim's got new figures coming up. Barnyard Commandos has new figures coming out. So there's a lot of that going on to where you can do these kind of I call them timeline features, where you talk about what's happening today and then what happened in the past, and you kind of bridge.
So a little history, a little historical aspect to it, mixed in with the new stuff, and maybe some interviews or bio type. That's really cool, man. I think that's a good mix.
And so we're doing stuff like that, and then we're going to do features just based on old properties as well. One of the things we're working on right now is superpowers. I've got one of the guys who's helping me out.
The toy line and cartoon, or just
I think mainly the toy line, because we're talking to ex-Kenner guys about working on that line, because that thing had, and that was actually in the second book I did. That thing had a lot of legs behind it that unfortunately the line got cut. Well, I mean, they had 4 waves of figures, but there was a 5th wave already done, and they had plans for a lot more.
I like Kenner, man. That's one of my favorite companies. Are you a sports fan at all?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Are you like purely Houston teams?
Well, no, not necessarily, but I'm a big football guy. I like football. In the order, I guess it's football, baseball, basketball.
And what teams do you follow?
I follow the Texans, unfortunately. They're a dumpster fire. I follow the Astros. They're their own subject.
Yes.
But I will. I don't want to get into all that scandal stuff.
Right.
I love the team's personality. I think that, and they've got some great players. They don't need to have pitches tipped to them if they don't need to.
Agreed.
And the Rockets, they're just kind of in this 15-year rebuilding cycle or whatever.
So you're pretty much a hometown kind of guy.
But I mean, my wife loves the Seahawks, and she loves the Saints as well. She follows both those teams. She's very distraught about Russell Wilson being a Bronco now.
Yes.
So she said, "Well, I got to follow the Broncos now too." I was like, "Well, good luck with that."
The reason I kind of bring up sports, we talk a lot about sports on the show. By the way, do we have a heat update, Tank? Can you check that out just so we can see what's going on there?
It's 89-85, 8 minutes left in the fourth.
Are we up?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We were actually up at one point, like 12 points.
Okay. I heard, or I saw, everybody saw that starting lineup is coming back. I don't know if you ever got into those. I thought, to me, that was like at that age and at that time when I was really first getting into sports, it was just amazing. And then it was so hard to collect them because they were regional and you could only get, certain players, and unless you went to a con. And I had a lot of fun, and now I read that they're coming back soon with something. I know there had been some like stadium giveaways and stuff, but now I think they're coming out with a line.
Yeah, they're gonna. Cool. I think they've teamed up with, is it Topps again? Maybe so. One of the card companies, I think, that they're gonna do some stuff with. I was never really into I was always disappointed in starting lineups. I always thought that they could look better than they actually did.
When they came out with McFarland's, we saw how bad they were, but we didn't know because there was nothing.
Because they had nothing to compare it to at the time. Yeah. They did briefly. There was a starting lineup 2.
Mm-hmm. Those looked a little bit better. They looked like the bridge to McFarland's.
Because I remember being someplace in Central Texas and finding a Jeff Bagwell, and I think that's the only starting lineup I ever owned, because it was like, okay, well, that actually looks pretty cool, and that's Jeff Bagwell. So I'm gonna go.
You can tell it's Jeff Bagwell this time. How about well, we'll support the magazine at Man of Action Figures for sure. We'll get some from Diamond, and we'll have them for sale, 100%.
That's great. I mean, this was the proof of concept that I did.
Here, let me blow up your screen there so we can take a good look at that.
Very cool. I sent this out to toy companies and other people who I thought might be interested in seeing it and potentially advertising. So, inside I showcased, some features. So this is like Varner Studios. Steve Varner is probably one of the best known for sculpting most of the Ninja Turtles you ever played with as a kid.
Very cool.
So we did feature work on that kind of stuff, and we'd show like unpainted prototypes of stuff he had around his studio, like Biker Mice. You see Biker Mice up there, and
the process of making them is cool too. When you see like the different stages of how they, obviously it's very different now than some of this old school stuff, but how they get to that final product is cool.
Yeah, that's a Playmates Luke Skywalker.
Oh wow.
Because back in the mid 90s or the late 90s, when Lucasfilm was getting ready to relaunch for the prequels, and Hasbro had let the license lapse, they had come and Lucas called 4 companies in to basically pitch for the new license, and it was Hasbro, Mattel, Playmates, and Galoob.
But Hasbro had to have that inside track on that, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, the whole thing, they basically said, a lot of folks said later on that was, the other people were just stalking horses in order to keep Hasbro honest.
Right.
They were always going to get it.
Yeah.
But it drove the price up.
I'm curious who the young lady is on the right of that page. Can you show that page again? There's a lady figure.
Oh, that's Foxy Cleopatra from Austin Powers.
Oh wow! Yeah, there was a McFarlane.
That was a Mezco figure that was unproduced.
Okay, because McFarlane ended up doing a line of those, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he ever brought her out though.
Right, I didn't see that. I never saw that figure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an unproduced Mezco Foxy Cleopatra.
Do you have a few more minutes? I just have a couple more questions. I know we're getting to the hour mark. You told me you have like an hour.
Yeah, man, that's fine. And we'll have like reviews. So we'll do figure reviews. So that's a sample of what one of those may look like.
Cool.
So yeah, so that's basically kind of an idea about what the contents would be. Like I said, we're fast away working on. Actually, we need to work on 2 issues at a time because they come quicker, and the print cycle. I need about 6 weeks in order to get it printed and distributed and all that stuff.
Sure. Your background before this, it's help. Obviously, the journalism part helps, but the deal making part of it and all that other kind of stuff, is that stuff you've kind of just had to learn on the fly, or you had some
my
experience?
father was a used car salesman, so
okay.
I attribute what if any skill I have in sales to him, because he could sell you. He could sell. What's the
you got to sell yourself, man. You got to have a gift for gab.
Is that he was good at doing the used car thing, and my oldest brother was actually a salesman too. He was really good at it. I always said he got all of that because I was never really that good at selling me and then selling the product. It kind of comes hand in hand. I've gotten better at it over time out of necessity, really, because I don't have anybody else to do it. Yeah, there was a time when I was really uncomfortable with that. Now, not so much.
Yeah, you kind of if you're not from that background, you definitely learn and ease into it, and then get way more, just like anything else, I guess, way more comfortable doing it.
And, I just try to bombard people with facts and get them hopefully nodding yes, like yeah.
The number one thing you need to have is passion for whatever you're doing. So like if you got to believe in it first, right?
Right.
So if you do, then it's gonna be easier for you to convince other people too. Like if you're just doing a job, then
if you're good at it, that kind of that stuff is contagious. People catch on to it and like get excited right alongside you, which I hope everyone is looking forward to seeing a print toy magazine return.
I'm excited about it, man. I think it's cool
because again, I'm doing this because I want this, and I'm looking around and I don't see it coming from anywhere. So let's give it a shot. And I hope that I'm not alone.
Yeah, I don't think you are. I think there is still obviously we're dealing with niche stuff. Not everybody is into this stuff. But there is a market, and I'm one of those people. I like to have my vinyl. I like to have the comic book in my hand. I like to have the stuff. Because one day I think, if they turn off this internet one day, what do you have? What do you really have?
That's right.
Not that that's ever going to happen, but I just think about, I think about something just, I live in South Florida, hurricanes, we get a hurricane. I got to have some DVDs around, or something to watch. We're not going to have, we're not going to have internet. Probably. We're not going to have. So, and reading is, wherever it is, it's super important especially for kids, but for everybody, it's just super important.
One of the other things that part of the pitch that I've been using is what the open rate on an email is like, I don't know, somewhere in the high 20s, low 30%.
That's good. That's a good open rate.
Yeah. You know what the open rate is on a magazine? It's about 100%.
Yeah, you bought it, you're gonna open it.
You're gonna flip through it.
Yeah.
Even if it lands in your mailbox for free, odds are you're probably gonna flip through it.
Yeah.
Just to see what it's about. So I think that even though I'm not being able to promise a lot of advertisers, 10,000 subscribers right out of the gate, I think a lot of folks see value in knowing that the people who are going to be seeing this are going to be 100% interested in what they're selling.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Blake, but do you have like a minimum commitment that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna at least, you're trying something, right? Obviously, we don't. I hope it works. We all do, toy collectors, but you also have to think sometimes. All right, I'm gonna go X amount of far. Have you thought about like, hey, I'm gonna at least put out X amount of time? Am I putting you on the
Yeah,
spot?
I mean, one of the problems is, excuse my French, but shit can go sideways at any moment.
100%. It's been
Right.
sideways for 2 years.
Right. So, I mean, right now I'm up against paper shortages. Nobody has any paper, and it's expensive to get. Apparently, some pound levels of paper right now. So I'm having to work around that, which means, securing paper earlier than I would have normally wanted to. So that means having to secure, having to come up with a print run number earlier than I really wanted to. So how high do I go? How low do I go? And these dynamics are new to me because I've done online magazines before, but I've never messed with print. So this is something that I'm having to learn on the fly. As far as commitment, I'm in it till it drops or I drop. I've taken people's money already, and I'm at least going to run this through its first year and see if we can't do something with it.
I think that's a good.
I've got money in reserve for when stuff invariably goes wrong, and I've got some. Let's just call them angel type folks in the background who have nothing to do with the magazine right now.
You have some people on your shoulder.
Basically, if shit goes sideways and I need a lifeline, it's there.
That's good. Hey man, you guys want to check out some stuff we got in at Man of Action Figures before you go, and then I just have a couple more questions and we'll let you get out of here, man.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. I'll put the solo layout over here. And okay, this is Jada Toys, and they've made some nano metal figures, and these are static figures. They're like little cool. I got a new mic this week. I got to figure out how to do this. G.I. Joe figures they're putting out. Is this Jada Toys or did I? Yep,
Jada it's Toys. Jada.
Yeah, there you go.
I actually met with them at the licensing show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. I have one more from them this week. Also G.I. Joe, like that one. So they're same metal figures there, but they got the Stinger Jeep also there. So they got some little vehicles in the same kind of scale for those. I was gonna save this for later. I hope we win. That's our local guy here, Jimmy Butler, Miami Heat, Super 7 action figures, and we got some of the other NBA guys.
We're $99.99 right now.
Oh my god, dude!
3 minutes.
And then this is what I like about what Super 7's been doing. So they do like some kind of weird, funny kind of stuff. With the G.I. Joes, there was a lot of PSA memes. So they're coming out with some PSA figures. And then when we checked this in the other day, he was like, oh my god, that's a printing error. They messed up on this package. And I said, wow, come on, dude. You've seen Lost Boys. They printed it the way they want. This is when they're hanging upside down in that scene. So that's kind of interesting. And the punch is on the top. If it were punched, and you wanted to hang it or whatever, it's hanging upside down. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Brian and his team do a lot of nods and winks like that throughout their product lines.
Yeah, for the hardcore. So I got some pops, of course. That's Post Malone, and I think that's from when they did the Nirvana charity thing. So we got that pop in along with a whole bunch of others, but I picked kind of some of my favorites this week. Miles Davis, Pop Rocks. What else do we have here? We got Jackie Robinson Pop.
Timely.
Yeah, there was a Jackie Robinson news.
issue.
Yeah. There's a variant to it too. That's like the gold. It's not actual gold, guys, but what else do we have? I got some other music Funko ones. That's Slash right there from Guns N' Roses, and this is their premium vinyl. I thought this was called gold, but maybe that's what the sports are called.
No,
Maybe
it's gold. The whole line's called gold.
okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
Got a couple more here. We got Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G. there. Same line. Little Jimi Hendrix here. Got Ice Cube right there. I don't know if we have all these guys, and this I think is Beast Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. Kiss. That's the Catman right there. And then we got a couple of figure arts here. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Figure arts, and then I got one more here. Is this figure arts as well? Tech on Avengers Iron Man right there. So we have those all in stock at Man of Action Figures, manofactionfigures.com, or you can go to 27551 South Dixie Highway, Homestead, Florida, 33032. You can call us 305-255-1987. You can email us info@manofactionfigures.com, or just go check out manofactionfigures.com. Okay, Blake, before you go, is there anything else you want to tell us before I ask you like my kind of last question I have for you?
I think that's about it. I mean, if anybody's interested in learning more about the magazine, they can hit up the website, or mainly keeping stuff on the socials. Yeah, the links are down below. We're going to be, sooner or later, we're going to switch over our socials from hyping the magazine to actually covering toy news. But for now, we're still trying to, and that's our number one problem right now, is visibility. We need more people to know that we're coming. So, that's what the card campaign was about. That's why I sent those out. And that's why, every weekend I'm at some show. Tomorrow I'm going to be at Retropalooza here in town. There's a show, a traveling show that does, they do one here, and I think they do one in Dallas, and they've got some celebrity types showing up. So I'm going to go down there. And
is that like a basic Comic-Con kind of thing? Or?
It started more as a video game thing, but it's kind of morphed into just an overall.
We're all in the same
old
sport
toy,
there,
old
kind of
game. Like the last one I went to, for example, I bought a Big Track. You remember Big Track? It's a programmable tank that was about yay big, from Parker Brothers back in or Milton Bradley or whoever.
Is this a 70s era thing?
It's an early 80s thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It had 6
The name
wheels.
is definitely. Can we show that tank real quick?
What was
you
it?
You could program it on the back, and it would go forward and turn and shoot. And there was an accessory that was like a dump truck type accessory, trailer that you could put on it. But some guy had it for like $30, and it was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
I was like,
Big Tracks tank is called Big Tracks.
Big Tracks. TRAX. Or no, K. Sorry, TRAK.
There you go.
Big Track.
Yeah, I think I got it.
So you're gonna do some of the convention stuff. Just get the word out. Yeah, if anybody's watching, or go ahead and share it. If you think anybody's interested in this, all the, we have a lot of toy comic people.
Yeah, so we'll be going to. We're going to try to get to San Diego as well in July. Yeah, there it is.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of the little thing that comes out of Optimus Prime. A little bit.
Yeah, so the white one was a remake out of a company in Britain did. The gray one is actually the vintage one.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is. I loved that thing as a kid.
I like this one better, actually, I think.
Yeah. But so we're going to do as many shows as we can. I'm actually appearing, I'll go ahead and plug this, as a guest at PowerCon in Columbus, Ohio, the first weekend in August.
Very cool.
Ideally, I will have the books by then, fingers crossed. So I'll be able to sell a book directly to you at that show. And I won't have the magazine yet, but I'll know what's in it, and it'll probably be at the printers about that time.
Did you say that you can no longer buy the books, or there's going to be some reprints? I think you mentioned.
Yeah, the reprints are happening. So you can go to Big Bad Toy Store right now and pre-order. That delivery is probably going to be sometime in the late summer. Or I will have extras eventually that you can buy directly from me. Just hit me up on social media. I never created a store for them or anything because I didn't need to. They just flew off the shelves without.
Well, I would like to get some, so I'm gonna hit you up.
Yeah,
later.
just let me know.
Yeah.
We definitely did. We did a wholesale price for them for a few people who wanted to carry them. So yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, man. And, just for my library, I'd like to have some. So before you go, I want to just ask you this question: is if I could give you sort of 5, maybe, or whatever, as many as you can rattle off, things that we have never gotten toys of that you really would like to see. Tang, we could chip in too if you have some you like to see. I'll give you maybe a couple of mine that I think are underserved or we never got that are deserving. Because there's some stuff that they've made toys and you're like, man, I can't believe they made this, but we haven't gotten this yet. You know what I mean? Is there any things you're like, man, I can't wait for them to make this? Anything really?
Yeah. I had at one time, I used to keep a list of that, truthfully. I'm actually looking for it real quick. I don't think I can find it on my desktop. Desktop is so cluttered.
Take your time. Maybe I can give you like some of the ones I've kind of. There's one that somebody asked me about from a business point, at least. This is not one that like I'm longing for personally, but when they asked me for it, I was like, man, I cannot think of one toy from this property that I've seen in my, I take it back to when I was a kid collecting, but we've been in business like 13 years, and I haven't seen one thing come across the table. And they just released a movie recently, Top Gun. Have you ever even heard or seen anything Top Gun?
There was some company just this year did something with Top Gun.
Figure wise or toy wise?
It was two planes that were in like a window.
Inverted? Were they inverted?
No, they were kind of pointing towards one another.
They should have made them inverted, dude. Right?
But I don't remember if there were figures in there or not.
The famous scene when they're inverted.
Right.
Maybe a missed opportunity there.
So yeah, okay. I finally found what I was looking for.
So there has been some Top Gun, or there is some.
There is some. I don't think there's not like really nice articulated figures or anything, but there are some.
Okay. Randy, what you're saying is that there's no like figures like the characters.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day, and I go, you know what? I never really have seen anything. At least
I think they also made some die-cast, like Hot Wheels size die-cast planes for this new movie.
Okay, well. that would make sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm seeing. I looked it up. I'm seeing some planes only.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Tom Cruise is kind of tough on the licensing side. It's hard to make anything Tom Cruise. For the amount of movies that guy's been in, there's very little merch out.
So my number one, I just refreshed my memory. My number one that I would buy everything that somebody would put out if they would just put it out right now would be anything related to The Last Starfighter, which was a movie back in 84. That was really, it holds up today. It's actually a cute little movie, but
I am not familiar. Can you fill us in a little bit on?
So it's a movie basically about a kid who lives in a trailer park, and he's trying to get out of there. He's trying to get to college, start a new life or whatever. But he's kind of stuck in the rut of being like the handyman around this place and everything. And one day a video game shows up at the trailer park that ends up, you learn later, was misdelivered. It wasn't supposed to be there. but he gets really good at it, and it's called Starfighter. And like in the first half of the movie, he like breaks the record or whatever, and then before you know it, somebody shows up from outer space and recruits him. It was a recruiting tool because there's really that war that he was playing on the game is actually really going on up in space. And so they bring him out. And
this is giving me some Ready Player One kind of vibes. Somehow.
Yeah, I mean, well, Armada, the book that Ernie Klein followed up Ready Player One with, is The Last Starfighter. It's this,
oh wow, look at that!
He took the story and put it in a book. But the ship that he ends up piloting is called a Gunstar. Pull that up because it's a very cool ship.
Let's check that out, Tank.
I would love to have, and some collector or some customizers have customized these, but a true 1-to-1 scale with like a 4-inch figure would be a pretty massive ship.
I wonder how hard it would be to get that made. Like you'd have to find whoever made.
Well, the problem with the reason it was, Galoob actually had the license to do Last Starfighter stuff. It's actually in book number 2 as well.
Is Galoob now owned by somebody else?
The Hasbro bought them.
So there's no Galoob, or is there Galoob branded stuff coming out?
Yeah, they still do branded stuff every once in a while, but it's all Hasbro.
Okay.
I'm sharing it.
Okay. Yeah, let me add that.
So yeah, that's the Gunstar.
It looks a little bit like it could be in Star Wars. This thing probably.
Yeah. What's so cool? It has a mechanism. It has like a super kill weapon called Death Blossom. You see, third one down on the left, where the panels are open and it says Death Blossom. Go 2 to the left, right there. So those panels come open and there's all these missiles that are in those little in the wings there, and the ship just starts spinning crazily and missiles go everywhere.
It's giving me like a TIE fighter type of vibe. This vehicle.
It's a much bigger ship.
It would be a bigger in scale. It would be way bigger.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, it was always one of my favorite spaceships that I never got a toy of.
Okay. What else? You got a couple more?
Of all things, and of course, some of the stuff Funko has taken care of. But back in the day, I always wanted Caddyshack figures.
They made some.
They made Pops.
Okay,
I think, which I thought that would be cool. And then the other thing that actually contractually I think still can't be made are figures based off Spaceballs.
That would sell probably like hotcakes, dare I say, if they made anything on that.
Actually, the guy who, in the movie, there's a scene where Dark Helmet is playing with action figures of himself and the princess.
Yes. I
know the guy who owns the movie prop figures is actually writing a column for us in the magazine.
Oh, wow.
I've been to his house and I've actually seen him.
That's funny, man.
Yeah,
that's so. He has the actual figures he was playing with.
Film used.
Oh my god, dude! That's a
he also has movie
history.
A really large scale version of the Winnebago that they drive with the wings the spaceship.
Yeah.
You got an in-scale model of that.
Now, why can't they make that? Because you said contractually.
Part of the deal that Mel Brooks signed with, because he cleared this with Lucas before he made the movie.
I don't know this story. I always wondered about this.
And he said, he goes, we're going to do a parody of Star Wars, basically. And but I want your blessing or whatever. And, and we work out the details. And basically I don't know if Lucas got a cut at the end of the day, but one of the caveats was they couldn't merchandise the film.
Mm-hmm.
So they were unable to. But now that Disney owns Lucasfilm, that could possibly have changed.
I wonder how Disney feels about Spaceballs.
I have no idea. Mel Brooks is 95 years old, probably. still making. So they're getting ready to do History of the World Part 2 as a series on some streamer. I think.
Oh wow!
Somebody said, but I would
Yeah,
love.
we need those toys. I think.
Yeah, that would be cool. But I don't know if contractually they're allowed to do it.
That would be cool. That would that'll be an instant buy for a lot of people for sure.
What about you?
A lot of my things have kind of gotten fulfilled over time from when I got in, but you know, when I first started doing this or collecting or business wise, Tombstone, like you, that was one of my favorites. There wasn't a lot or any. I think they've made historical figures of some of those characters, but they weren't movie based. Pulp Fiction was one of my favorites, and they later released. You know, there's been a lot of figures now out. You know, 1/6 scale, and Diamond Select put some out in 6-inch scale. And then there's been like some sort of mini figures. I think NECA made some mini figures at one time, so that got fulfilled. I'm trying to think of some of my favorite like movies. You know, there's some third party stuff for Good, Bad, and the Ugly that's come out, so that you know you could get stuff. Clint Eastwood's another one. Like Sideshow's putting out a Clint Eastwood soon. Man with No Name, 1/6 scale. But he's another guy that's been tough with the licensing all throughout.
Yeah.
You know, if you just think of the sheer amount of films that he's made and the amount of like merchant collectibles or merchandise, whatever you want to call it, is out. It's not much. How about you, Tank? You got anything you'd be like, man, I'll get back in the collecting game if they come out with this?
No, but I did think of one that I don't think they can make. I don't know
Is
if
it
you guys
pornographic, dude, or what are we talking here?
I guess you could call it that, but you guys remember Assy McGee from Adult Swim?
I don't, dude. That was a show?
Yeah, I guess it's fairly newer to you guys.
They've made Adult Swim stuff though before.
Right, yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was looking to see if they had like Robot Chicken stuff because that was like one of their most popular things.
100%, yeah. I think Jazzwares put out some.
Yes.
They actually did the chicken, and I don't know what else, but yeah, they put out some
They
stuff.
did the dryer humping robot.
Yes.
Which that's one of the things I'm actually after right now. I would love to have one of those.
I'm sharing it, dude. So this is like what the show was right here.
So you want like this ass, basically.
I just thought of it, dude. That'd be a funny toy, but all I'm seeing is like a bank, and like it was in a mystery box.
Okay.
But I just thought of that, like really. I just tried to think of like things that couldn't be made or weren't made, and that's just what came to me.
It almost seems like anything is fair game at this point with toys.
Yeah. One of the other things that I just thought of, I was a big computer adventure game player back in the day, and back when LucasArts and all this and Sierra Online were the two main guys, and some of the stuff that LucasArts did. So like the Monkey Island series, where you play a kid who wants to be a pirate, but he ends up going up against a real pirate.
What system is this on?
This would have been, I mean, it would have been Apple, IBM, Commodore 64. You know,
okay. OG, real OG stuff here.
Yeah. So those some of those games would be cool. There's one called Grim Fandango that was all about the Day of the Dead. So all the characters are like skeletons, basically. They're dressed up.
You just made me think of RuneScape. That was a RPG game on the computer. I don't think I've ever seen any toys of that, and I love that game, man.
It's huge.
And then
I don't think I've seen any toys of that.
Was Full Throttle, which was about a biker gang, and one of the main character there would make a really cool figure with his motorcycle. So some of those older adventure games, I'd like to have figures from.
You know what, dude? RuneScape is the one for me, dude. If they made toys of that, I would fucking get them.
There you go.
I think video games, there's a lot of unexplored territory. I'm into like the original Nintendo, the NES, and you get Mario and you get Link and you get, some of those Mega Man and classic ones, but excuse me, there's some stuff in their catalog from like other that were not Nintendo made games that were really cool games that they never really made anything of. I don't know. There's licensing things probably there because they're not Nintendo owned, but if they did like a mixed wave of like some of their best games that were non-Nintendo branded, that probably might do well. Like there's a lot of like Rygar, and I mean they've made Castlevania, they've made figures, but there's probably like some territory to explore there.
Yeah, I remember NECA did some stuff. Spyro, I think somebody did Ratchet and Clank, and there were a few others.
Yeah, luckily we have
Banjo-Kazooie.
We have these companies that are willing to take those risks to get some of that oddball stuff. Yeah. I call it.
If they can do it affordably in lower numbers, then yeah, they can help put something out.
Hell yeah. All right, Blake, man, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to try to support and spread the word about the magazine. I think it's a super cool idea. I'm really into it, so I wish you the best with it, man, and we'll try to do whatever we can to help you out, wherever we can. And
I appreciate it. Yeah, I need all the help I can get when it comes to making sure that people know this thing exists. So anytime you're around like-minded folks, be sure and say, hey, by the way, there's a magazine coming out.
100%. Everybody at the store knows the deal. So we'll try to spread the word as much as we can, and then maybe we'll have you back another day when you launch if you have some time.
When the first issue comes out, and everyone can have one in their hands. We'll go through it or something.
That'd be cool, man. Awesome.
Right on.
All right, Blake, man. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, man.
All right, thank you so much. Go Heat.
All right. Score. Did we win, dude?
Yep. 111 to 103. So game 7.
We got a game 7, dude, and the Warriors, dude, are awaiting us, right?
Yep.
They're
there already.
Do we have a chance against those guys, dude? I don't know. Let's take it one game at a time. We still got one more to go.
There you go.
All right, Blake. I wish you well, man, and we'll do what we can. Thank you so much for joining us again, man. Appreciate it, brother.
All right, bud. Thank you so much, both of you.
All right, you got it. Thank you. All right, man. You're gonna sign up for the magazine, dude?
Yeah, dude.
We got to support these type of projects, man.
For sure.
If you can subscribe or get an issue, we'll have him at Man of Action Figures.
I came in thinking like, wow, man, like it's cool what he's doing, but like, the internet is crazy, dude. But he made a lot of good points with like the algorithm of shit. There's so much stuff on the internet that who the fuck's gonna bother to go look at some.
Hey, man, there's people.
But if it's showing up to your door, you're gonna fucking look at it.
Yeah, there's people buying vinyl records. There's people buying comic books. There's people buying physical shit still. There still is a market for that. It's not like it was in the old days, but it's a niche, and I think there's still a market for it, man. It'd be super cool because it may, who knows when somebody will try to do this again if it doesn't work out. So,
dude, I used to like getting the physical copy of games, and I still do, but like
I do. I always buy when I buy for Bruno. I buy the physical.
Yeah, it's like it's so like easy, bro. Like it's so to just get it online that I've been doing it lately. But I always liked getting physicals.
I think it's cool, dude. So it'd be cool, dude, if it takes off. All right. You want to hit up like a couple of the news things going on before we get out of here?
Yeah.
I can't comment, even if I say spoiler alert, on any of these shows, but I know Obi-Wan Kenobi came out today. I know Stranger Things dropped today. I'll be probably binge watching. Did you keep up with Stranger Things?
No.
Not even season 1?
Yeah, for sure. Season 2, I don't think I finished it.
Why'd you drop out? It got boring? You didn't think it was that good? It's a lot of nostalgia factor for me.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that like I just stopped. I guess I found something else maybe. But I did like season 1.
There's so many things to watch, dude. It's like endless.
Pit.
Yeah, endless amount of things that you can watch. All right. What else is going on, dude? What else is going on? Monkeypox. Did you get monkeypox already or not yet?
No, not yet.
All right. Dude, the Opelika Hialeah flea market's closing down, dude.
That don't matter to me.
Oh my god, that makes me sad inside, dude.
We could go though. I'm down.
We
when
should
you guys
go.
said you guys wanted to go, I'm down to go.
I want to go, dude, before it closes. Just one last time, dude. Go buy like some wife beater tank tops one last time at the flea market. Some knockoff Filas or whatever they used to sell there. I like the flea market. I go to the one here, the Homestead Flea Market. We go.
Yeah, I like to go there too, especially to eat.
Oh yeah, we do that sometimes. We just go strictly to like have lunch, but inevitably, I have to take Bruno to the Lego. There's
section.
There's a lady who sells like toys. She's like the flea market man of action figures. She has like a bunch of Legos and stuff. And but the food is really good at the. I call it the Mexican flea market. I don't even. Was it Redland Flea Market? Is what it really is.
Yeah, Redland Flea Market. Mastodon has a weird question there.
Oh, let's see what's Mastodon got going on here. Well, Mastodon, you're gonna have to expand on that because I'm a car person. You know, I'm into cars and stuff.
What does he mean that like comic people are going into cars instead now?
Or are car people going into comics? Or I mean, at the end of the day, if you're talking about collectors, I think collectors are collectors sometimes.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
like I'll speak for myself. Like I go into phases. So is he talking about real cars or like die-cast cars? I don't know that either.
I thought real cars right away.
I thought real cars too. But I go through phases where I collect different stuff depending on, you know, the time or mood of the thing.
I'll collect cool looking rocks and sticks.
Those are free, dude. That's the best part about those things, dude.
So yeah, I think you hit it there where a collector is a collector.
Yeah. Let's see what he's saying. I'm starting to see less
cards.
Oh, we understood car at the beginning. Okay, card. Yeah.
I could see it.
There was a resurgence of that during the pandemic, right?
Cards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pokemon, sports cards.
I see it a lot now. I get a lot of ads for like sports unboxings.
Yeah, we got you. We got you now, Mastodon. I was struggling to see the link between comics and cars, but
yeah, me too.
Definitely, I see the link between comics and cards. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, with the whole grading system and for the most part being the same companies. There's a lot of like in them.
Yeah, it's like a cousin of comics, basically. Do you hear anything about Johnny Depp, Amber Turd? I had
just
closing arguments.
Things.
What do you got?
Well, you know, most of the shit that's posted. Was it the jaw stretcher? Was that closing arguments?
What was that guy was doing, dude?
I saw somewhere that somebody said it was like an Adderall stretch. So if you're taking a lot of Adderall, it's like, I don't know. I never took Adderall, so
it was so weird, dude. They like asked him something about this dude was a I'm butchering. I don't know. He was like, he said Johnny Depp was a narcissist and attributed some other personality disorders to him, but he never really sat down and talked to him. He did it all over watching depositions and studying him on video, and I think he even said in a movie or something.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, he was commenting on like his cognitive ability, responding and stuff like that, and then he goes, "Well, I don't know if it was this movie, but he was Willy Wonka doesn't mean anything to you, right?"
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
And then he goes,
Do I have to answer that?
He did it for like 5 or 10 seconds, and then he said, "Do I have to answer that?" And the judge was like, "Yes, you have to answer questions." So
That
I get fascinated by the cases sometimes, dude. Especially, I look at the witnesses. Everybody's performing, right? The lawyers are performing, the witnesses are performing. Some perform better than others. Some break down. Some are like, you know, it's interesting when the witness like kind of gets the best of the attorney, especially on like cross examine. It's very easy when it's like your witness, you know, and you let them talk. It's so funny because like if it's your witness, you let them talk. As soon as it's cross examination, they're like, no. It's a yes or no question. No, that wasn't my question. It's so different. But every once in a while, the witness will get the best of the cross examination attorney, and I think that definitely happened. Did you see the guy from TMZ?
yes, the 15-minute guy.
Yeah, he looked like if Draco Malfoy was maybe a little bit cooler.
A little bit cooler or cool in general.
Yeah, and they tried to say Amber Heard's attorneys to him said, well, really, you're just here to get your 15 minutes of fame, aren't you? And he said, you know what? He had a home run. He was like, you know what? Not really, man. TMZ is a very legit. I'm butchering the word. A company that does a lot of litigation, basically, to paraphrase. So I'm kind of putting myself in the target. But I could say the same for you, being Amber Heard's attorney. You know, and he kind of crushed it.
Yeah, she could. All she could do was laugh.
Yeah, and that the Camille, the attorney for Depp, she's really good too.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He seems to have a good team.
Yeah, definitely a better team than her.
I guess compared to hers, it's not hard.
Yeah, I mean he has more money, so he's gonna get a better team. I wonder what the bill is on that. What the bill is for those attorneys?
What was the bill for OJ's?
Well, whatever it was for OJ, it was worth it.
Yeah,
because he got away with murder, so that's worth it, I guess, for him. And I know they did the closing arguments this week, and I don't know what the process is after that. I guess they have to decide now what's going on, what the verdict is. I don't even know if they have to be unanimous or not.
No, I think is it unanimous is only for the death penalty, right?
Well, I think any criminal trial, I think, has to be unanimous.
So if one guy thinks he's innocent, that's it. They're innocent.
Yeah, they can keep deliberating to see if they convince that one guy, or I believe the term is it becomes a hung jury at that point.
Wow.
But crazy shit can happen, dude. People want to get out of there is one thing too, you know. So somebody may break down and be like, I got morals, you know, for a week, and then like after 2 weeks of deliberating or whatever, they're like, all right, fine, not guilty, or fine, guilty, whatever. I don't know what the final. I don't remember if the OJ one was fast. I feel like it was a fast decision, but I'm not sure. Ellen is out after 19 seasons. Did you ever watch that show?
No, never.
Not once in my life did I watch that show. So I'm not going to miss it because I never had it to begin with. Did you see Justin Timberlake sold his entire catalog?
Yeah, I saw that. Seems kind of cheap, right?
100 million?
Yeah.
I kind of thought the same thing, dude.
Maybe like 250.
I would have thought he was over 200. Because he's got a lot of shit, dude.
Dude, NSYNC, fucking, and him too.
Yeah, mostly him. You know what's funny, dude? I went to my daughter's kindergarten graduation, which I don't think I had a kindergarten graduation, by the way, but whatever. I'm not mad at anybody. And they did one of his songs, the one that appeared in Trolls. And Bruno, my son, he's in third grade, so I guess 4 years ago or 3 years ago, he had his kindergarten graduation. They did the same song, the same Justin Timberlake song from Trolls, which I'm forgetting the fucking name of the song right now, but I thought it was funny. I think he's a pretty good fucking showman, dude. Honestly, the very talented guy, acting, singing, dancing. Oh, and then there's a rest in peace. Got to do a couple rest in peace. Ray Liotta passed away this week. Rest in peace. Maybe you could look this up because I'm sad I don't know his name. I think one of the members of Depeche Mode passed away this week as well. It kind of seems like there's a lot of bad news. Bad news in the news this week. Obviously, you know,
Andy Fletcher.
Is he like a keyboard player or?
I'm not sure.
Well, rest in peace, member of Depeche Mode. I was also shocked to hear that. All right, if you had to guess, how many theatrical release movies, so movies that you could go and sit down and watch in the movie theater. So they're not movies that are streamed on Netflix or HBO or Disney or any of the streaming services. They're strictly movies that you go and see in the movie. It's a sign of the times. How many do you think are going to be released this year? If you had to guess.
Wait, what was the question?
How many movies do you think are going to be theatrically released this year?
Oh, just in general, like how many I think are going to be released this year?
That you could sit down and watch in a movie theater.
Right.
So I'm not talking about not like a Netflix, release. Something you go and you buy a ticket and you sit in the movie theater for.
12.
Is it that low? So only one a month? You think they're only releasing one? I asked the bum the same question. He said 20. I was like, wow. It's actually 108. But I thought that was low. But then again, I think of shit's gone like fucking streaming service and non-theatrical release lately. For the first time this year, in a tradition that dates back more than 50 years, Nebraska football fans at Memorial Stadium will not be mass releasing balloons on the first Husker touchdown of a home game. They're not doing this because of a helium shortage. Did you know we have a helium shortage?
It's been for a little while already, though.
It's been going on for a little bit, yeah.
They're not gonna release them because they're like bad for the environment and shit.
You would think that just because of that they wouldn't do it, right? It's like we don't have enough helium. Otherwise, we would totally fuck up the environment, dude. We don't give a fuck, but we just don't have enough to go around. And at one point, we as a country were. Thank you, Mastodon. It is a keyboardist, yes, and I think it's the name that Tank mentioned. So the helium thing, we would stockpile it at one point. Apparently, it's a rare gas. They use it in rocket fuel, MRI machines, and weather balloons, as you would expect. It's funny. I know somebody who has a business for parties, like a balloon business party. So I wonder how that affects them. I know at one point, like, you remember you could go into like Party City or something and fill up. I think like at one point you weren't able to do that. Probably now you can't do that.
Well, yourself?
Yeah, like I don't think they sell it. I'm not sure.
Like
but
balloons with helium?
Yeah, they would have the machine with the helium, so you would buy the balloons and you could like fill them at the store. I don't know if there's an alternative balloon.
No, I think they still do it.
They still have the helium. It's probably just expensive.
Yeah, because somebody's birthday recently and they had the numbers.
Okay. Probably just costing you more. Yeah, more. So they had a national stockpile of the gas in the 60s, and in 1996 they voted to start selling off the stockpile, but in 2013 they realized that they had been selling them too cheaply and started raising the price on them. In 2013, helium cost about $65 per 1,000 square feet, and in 2021 it hit 100, and the peak was 119, which is nearly double what it was. Kevin Spacey's in hot water again with 4 counts of sexual assault against 3 men in the UK. I guess they couldn't get him for the kids, right? They had to get him for the adults.
Yeah,
that's so fucked up, man. Like, and he was almost. You ever see any of those crazy videos he did?
No.
He would do like these wacky videos, like in front of his fireplace, and then he would be like, "Oh, only if you would have kept your mouth shut," you know, because for a little bit, like a lot of his accusers were turning up dead.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, like anybody who would accuse him or be like about to testify would like mysteriously or not so mysteriously end up dead. Tank, how old are you?
26.
26. You don't remember anything about the Marlins' first championship, obviously, but it's the 25th anniversary of that Marlins championship, and goddamn, that it doesn't seem that long ago for me. I remember watching all those games and going to the stadium with my grandfather and stuff, and who knows when the fuck they will do that again. By the way, where is the last Heat game going to be played? Well, hopefully it's not the last, but the next.
I think in Boston.
Oh my God! So we got to win Game 7 on the road. Shouldn't it be played here because we had like the best record?
Yes. No. I think it is here.
Okay.
Because it was Miami at Boston, yeah.
So they should be coming back to Miami for Game 7 on Sunday, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
That would be super interesting.
Jimmy Butler just went to third most. He scored 43 points, so he went to the third most when facing elimination in Heat history. The other two was LeBron James with 45 and Dwayne Wade with 46, also against the Celtics.
So how many points did Butler have?
43.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, dude. He literally
didn't want to lose.
He literally put the team on his back, dude. What's Mastodon talking about here? Do you guys see the shots fired from CBCS?
Not sure.
Another sporting note here before you get out of here.
I think he's saying that there was shots fired and
like literal shots.
Yeah, no. I think this is old. Never mind.
All right, we're gonna need some clarification on that, Mastodon, so we know what you're talking about. A 32-year-old runner died this week after finishing half a marathon in Brooklyn, where 15 others were injured, police and fire officials said. An official cause and manner of death should be released in the coming days. Maybe it was released already since I put this on the notes. But this is another reason I don't run marathons, dude. It's fucking dangerous, right? You know what I forgot to ask this guy? Our guest tonight, Blake Wright. Where he thought toys would be in like 10 to 20 years.
What was that?
Where toys would be in 10 to 20 years.
Shit. What's up?
There was a company, and it was like a decade or more ago when Tron came out, where they made like these figures were on their face. They were like helmeted figures, but their face, when you like press the button, like a hologram would come up, and then the person's face would come up, and then they were like talking, and you could see their mouth move, and there was sound. And I thought, wow, that's the fucking future, dude. Like
That does sound pretty cool still.
Yeah, and they had like these drone type figures that would like fly around and like go up walls and roofs and shit. Spin Master was the name of the company, but for whatever reason it never took off. Have you heard any good conspiracy theories about the shooting? There's a lot flying out there. Right? Unbased, they seem like most of them. Like they said he was illegal. They said he was trans, but they've said, none of that stuff matters. And at the end of the day, that shit doesn't really matter.
No.
At the end of the day, it's just somebody with severe mental problems acting out. The troubling thing that I heard was that the police didn't go in time. You heard about?
Yeah, they were waiting like an hour for backup.
And then they released video where like people are like trying to go in and they're like not holding them back.
The parents were trying to go in, yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know, man. It's weird that in Texas, where a lot of people are armed, if that were the case, that nobody went in. But I don't know if that video was like after, they had already subdued the shooter, and they're trying to go in, but, they can't let them in at that point. All right, let me read this post Mastodon sent me from CBCS Comics. CBCS has always put the entire collecting community first, not catering to a few prominent members of the collecting community. As such, CBCS will continue to look out for the consumer of our products by offering as much information as possible. We will continue to provide important defect information on our labels as we always have. We will continue offering free grader notes, a service we have been offering for everyone since CBCS opened in 2014. This is a crucial service we provide to members and non-members alike. I just don't know enough about comic grading to comment on that, if I'm being honest. All right, Tank. I think we're pretty much done here. Anything else you got on the mind? We got to go to Hialeah Flea Market, dude.
Yeah.
Opalaka, Hialeah. You know what I want to talk about real quick before we go? The whole Josh Donaldson, Jackie Robinson thing. I haven't kept up with it as much as Josh Donaldson got suspended for one game from the Yankees for calling Tim Anderson Jackie. He called him Jackie. But Tim Anderson himself had referred to himself as like the next Jackie Robinson. Like, I'm sure there's worse things you could call somebody.
Or that have been said.
Oh, my God. The things that probably have been said around the bases in baseball throughout the years, for somebody to get suspended for calling somebody Jackie that at once referred to themselves as the modern day Jackie Robinson in an article, I thought it was ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it was bullshit.
What is the world coming to, dude? And first of all, that's a derogatory term, or that's an insult to call somebody that. I thought it was whack, dude. I don't know. It just.
Yeah, I thought it was bullshit.
What is the world coming to, dude? Damn, another question I forgot for this guy. Just reading my notes. We'll have him back on though when the magazine hits shelves. I wanted to ask him what the coolest person he met along the way was. All right, man. I think we'll get the fuck out of here unless you got anything else.
No, yeah, I think we're good, bro.
All right. Thanks everybody watching. Thanks for everybody on the replay. Thank you to Blake Wright for joining us tonight from Toy Collector Magazine. Tank, thank you. And we're out. I don't have any music for y'all. We're just out. Peace. Young Bucks, old go.